Hi, welcome to the Women Talk Construction podcast. I'm here today with my co host, Angela Gardner, and she is doing great things in the construction industry.
You are too.
One conversation at a time. And today we have a special guest with us, Kristen Pressimone. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. She is with Chesapeake Building Group. Let's see, let's make sure I said that right. Chesapeake Contracting Group. And it's an award-winning commercial general contractor, providing services through the Mid-Atlantic region. Kristen, thank you for being with us today and sharing your journey with us. I know that your Raleigh, North Carolina location is kind of new, but tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and the great projects that you're working on.
Sure. So I'm a project manager for Chesapeake Contracting. I've been here for about 2.5 years. We opened our office about a year after I came down here. So I was doing some networking and some things meanwhile to kind of put our name down here in the Southeast region. But we are building a lot of tilt-up flex buildings kind of around the area, town of Garner, town of Cary. So we're doing a lot of those typical buildings and just trying to get our name more out here and expand into multifamilies and different things, and just keep going.
Awesome, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's great. And we're also
And I've got
just
pictures of that tilt up.
Really?
Yes, so I will
Oh,
send
we
those
need
to
to
Angela. They're super cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will make sure that we showcase that on Instagram if anyone wants to definitely take a look at it. So, Kristen, why don't, we're all about women in construction, of course, attracting and
Yes.
attaining, and we know you are too. And that's just because we need more people, right? And we can definitely help with that. So, share with us specifically operations, some opportunities in construction for women.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think it was interesting kind of growing up and looking back at this position and saying like, obviously I know how I got here, but when I was in school, I didn't really think that being a builder it wasn't really a prevalent option. You think about like, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a pilot, you don't really grow up being like, I'm going to be a builder. There's all these advertisements out there with like guys in hard hats and shovels, and it's kind of like, do I want to like be in the dirt and working dirty and do those things? But there's so many opportunities in the construction industry for women that I think over the past handful of years have been marketed better. Um,
Yes.
but I mean, working for a subcontractor or a supplier, and you can be in accounting or operations. I just feel like a lot of women kind of miss this opportunity to work in the operational field for a company like a general contractor because it's not really out there as much. But it really is an amazing opportunity and a great place and thing to do.
Tell us one thing that you love about construction to our audience.
I hate to say that I love the end, but it's
We
only
love to see it built, right?
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, when you look at, the months or years that you put into building a project and you can physically see it at the end, you kind of think like, if you're a multifamily and you build apartment buildings, like you've been a part of something where you built a building that people now are making memories in. And that kind of satisfaction at the end really kind of brings everything full circle.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, talking about that just a little bit more, we find ourselves in a room regularly where Angela and I are the only females in the room, right? Either both of us are together or we're separate, but it happens a lot, and it's happened a lot over the last 30 years, right,
Yeah.
Angela?
Yep. Yep.
And we would love to hear your point of view on how you handle situations where you are the only woman in the room.
Sure. I mean, I will definitely say in the past it's been a little more daunting, probably to kind of look around and be like, am I really the only female in here? And in certain situations where like maybe you're just there for an opinion or you're kind of listening in, it's a little different. And moving up in operations now, I'm running some of those meetings and it looks a little bit different from that aspect. Um, it would be great to have a little more women in the room, and you kind of feel a little outnumbered sometimes. Um, but as long as we're all in there, driving towards the same goal
Mm-hmm.
and the same purpose, I'd love to see more women in that room, with me at the end of the day, and just getting them in there.
So one of the things I'd love to ask you is, there are a lot of women that listen to our podcast. And if they find themselves in a room where they're the only one, and maybe they're not getting the opportunity to speak, maybe they don't have the opportunity to share their thoughts on a subject matter, how would you approach that?
Sure. I think the thing is just speak up, and if you have a strong opinion, just make sure that you're heard. Sometimes I feel like in these meetings, like people have a tendency to like talk over each other, interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to be a driving force to get your opinion out there, because if you feel that strongly about something, you really want to make sure that it's heard no matter what.
Yeah, because a lot of these women, they really know what's going on the job site, right? These superintendents, or maybe they're a new superintendent, maybe they're a junior project manager. We have heard those conversations from those girls saying, how do I speak up? Well, you just do, right? Like, even if we're in a room full of a lot of women,
Yeah.
let's just pretend for a moment we have a project management meeting and there's all women in the room. We're still going to speak over each other. It's not really
Yeah.
a matter of men versus women as much as it is the point that you're trying to make.
Mhm.
I think we should make it more about the passion or what we have to say than the dynamics of the genderfication in the room. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I've also heard a lot of females saying, like in a meeting, like, hey, I really wanted to say this, but I didn't want to ask a question that sounded stupid.
I was about to say that. I think that's the main
Yes.
reason why we don't say anything. We
I
think
ask
Right?
it's
stupid questions all
stupid.
the time.
Like, there's no stupid questions. We all know that we've asked them before. So we
Ask
all know
it.
that, yeah, if you have a question, just ask it. And we don't learn without knowing the answers to these things.
Exactly.
Like, there's so much in the industry to know and learn and do.
Hmm.
No one's really pretending to be the expert. We'll never know everything.
Right. Some of the best leaders I've met have literally said the reason that they are successful is because of their curiosity.
Mhm.
They just never quit asking questions.
They
And
surround
I love
themselves
that.
with the experts, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's why they're successful and they rely on them.
Hmm.
Um, well,
Thank you for that.
yeah, continuing to talk about women in the field and the benefits from it. In fact, Christy and I just talked a lot about that on our recent TEDx Clemson talk. And, we talked about the diversity of thought and what we can bring to the table. We talked about the challenges of mental health and how we can help that.
Mhm.
Because we do sometimes speak up about those hard topics that others might not mention. So share with us some of the things you've seen that women can benefit being in the construction world too.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is once you get into the field, it's very fluid. Like, there's so much
Hmm.
information to learn. It actually opens you up to a lot of different opportunities where you can move around, like laterally or within your company or going to different companies. There are just so many opportunities there, just with the technical and the knowledge and the things that you learn. I think also a lot of people in this industry have a little bit of hand in networking,
Hmm.
and you kind of go to something, maybe a happy hour, after work or something, and you meet people, and you're using your communication skills and getting to know people for resources. But you make friends that way, and opens you up to different resources, and it just in that way also opens you up to all these different people and relationships that maybe you wouldn't have had before.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
actually
that's perfect.
in our women construction forum group, we had this is just one example of just what you mentioned, Kristen, about how you can move with if a company is open to it. First
Hmm.
off, you have to work for a company that's open to seeing different possibilities. But one young lady who was in the accounting department, she wanted something different. So
Yeah.
they actually, and FYI to everyone, listen to this because we know you need estimators. Look in your accounting department because
Right.
she moved to estimating and she loves it.
Mhm.
So think outside the box, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've actually had the same thing. We've had superintendents move to project managers and operations
Yep.
move to accounting and this and that. And
Yeah.
everyone's really supportive about
Use
helping.
that knowledge.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Move around, do different things. It's just the possibilities are endless.
I started in accounting, and just switching from spreadsheets to blueprints made me the happiest person in the world. So estimating was what made me fall in love with construction, like literally, because I was good at math, I could do a lot of it in my head. And so my customers really appreciated that too. So it's also what helped me be successful. So yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things I wanted to mention too is, ladies, if you join the construction industry and you're in a job that you don't love, 99% of the time you see something you like, all you have to do is mention it to one of your superiors, and there's so many opportunities. They're gonna find a way that if you have a passion to do something else, they're gonna find a way to train you and
Yeah.
get you in that particular role. A lot of people I've seen have switched from role to role to role to role, and they've all been parallel. But when they got to be a superintendent or a leader of some sort, they excelled because they knew everything,
Yeah.
right? They knew every aspect of the job. So when they became a leader, they could have those communications, right, with all the different departments because they understood it. And that just goes into the next question I want to ask. There are different divisions within every company, right? And a lot of times it's hard to talk to people, men and women, whose personality is different than ours. Maybe our conversation is not jiving. Tell me how, because we get a lot of this from the women in the field, how do you handle a conversation with a man that maybe your relationship is not jiving? Because these women, I think they get intimidated, and that's why they don't speak up.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely something that comes up a lot, and I guess because I'm coming from a lover, not a fighter kind of position, I'm like, we all need to get along. And so what I end up doing is kind of, I don't want to say confront, but I like to have a discussion with that person if I feel like there's some kind of resistance or, uncomfortableness, and just kind of predecess the conversation like, this might be an uncomfortable conversation, but I really want to have this with you because I'm feeling this way. And, we can work towards whatever the solution is and kind of come out better on the other end.
Yeah, that's really good. One of the things I did, this happened to me early in my career with 84 at corporate. I just we couldn't get it together, this guy and I. But when I finally like quit getting in my head about it and just asked him how things were going at home, and he started sharing, the next thing you know, that connection was made, right? We were having a hard time just connecting. Like, I didn't understand what he was saying, he didn't understand what I was saying. But when we put the business aside for a moment, it seemed like it made it a whole lot easier. So that worked for me in that particular. It's not going to work for everybody, but I think it is a good thing to mention. A lot of times it's just that your personalities are different. Once you get to know each other just a little bit better, the conversation seems to flow a little easier. And now he's one of my best friends. So it's just cool how that all works out. So thank you for sharing your
Yeah, I,
experience.
I will say too that Chesapeake has this unique thing where we do this thing called Discovery Insights, and we come out with a color of our personality. And so, we all take the test. I come out, it shows me what I am. But what's cool about that is it kind of pinpoints some of the major traits of your personality. And if I come out as a blue and someone is a yellow, which means they're opposite me, then I know like some of the things that I can do to connect and communicate with them,
Mm.
knowing what our different personality types are. So kind of kudos to them for allowing us to do that.
We should wear those colors on a sticker on.
I think some people
Should
do
we?
actually at some companies. They have
I
like
think
a
they do. They have.
sticker
Oh,
or
that's
something.
cool. They have it on their, I think one of the companies has it on their hard hat, don't they, Angela?
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I
No,
think
but
so.
well, they probably do. I mean, that's a cool way. Yeah, of
Good idea.
course. I mean, communication's key. I
Hmm.
mean, it's key in all aspects of our lives, and it's the way
Yeah.
in which you communicate a lot of times, and that could be verbal, or it could be just gesturing, or just listening. I mean,
Mhm.
it can happen so many ways. But as we dive more into like construction is busy. It's just a busy world for many of us. And the problem here too, the challenge is we don't have enough people to get these projects done. So we're
Hmm.
having to navigate that as well. Plus we have innovation happening, and that's not reducing the amount of people we need. It's
Mm-mm.
just making it life easier for us, which is awesome. So can you share with us the ways in which you are your own advocate in this busy world that we're creating and building?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is sometimes as women, I feel like, and I did this a lot when I was just getting into the business, is it's like, wow, I really want to make a name for myself and I really want to show that I'm a hard worker. So you have some tendency to like take on more. Like, can
Oh
you do
yeah.
this? Sure. Can you do this? Sure.
Hmm.
But you get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, maybe I've taken on too many things. So at a point, there's those discussions of what's important, right? What's important, and it may be not no, but maybe what's important and how do we prioritize to get everything done that's important. And maybe it does shift the work somewhere else or back up the chain, to where it came from. But without having a really good balance, you're not being productive for yourself, for your project, for your client. So it's really important to maintain a really balanced workload, work life.
Oh yeah,
That
for
is
sure.
so good to tell the folks that are listening, because we do tend to take on more. We think we have to do twice as much to get half the credit, but that's not really true. It really
No.
isn't. I think a lot of that's in our own head. It's not. We don't have to overachieve to be equally considered for a role. So
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that you were to share that with us. I think Angela's been a really good. She's been a really good voice for advocating for herself and for others. So I'd
I
love
do
for you to.
better with others than versus
I know
myself.
you do. I know you do. But you also advocate pretty well for yourself. But one of the things that I think, Angela and I have talked about this a lot is we have people like you, Kristen, in our
Hmm.
lives that we can, if things aren't going the way we really want them to, we can reach out and say, "Hey, Kristen, how would you handle this?" Right? And I think that's one of the things we need to tell these ladies that are in our industry. Find a lady that may be in the industry longer than you, or maybe just has a little more experience. They may be younger than you, but if they've been around for a while, ask the questions, right? Look, I don't feel like I should say this. What do you think? And that's really going to help you a lot in your progress and how you're going to excel in the construction industry. So I wanted to share that because I never did ask anyone. Nobody even, it just wasn't even a thought in my mind. Nobody, of course, I didn't have a mentor for 26 years. And, I think it's important. I wish somebody would have told me, oh, just ask someone. Oh, yeah, that's so hard, right?
And I think it's important to also mention this, Christy, because you and I have heard this before. Is if you and Kristen, I'm sure you're aware, or you've maybe even dealt with this. If you don't connect with someone, find somebody else.
Yes,
Like, and don't have
absolutely.
just one person. Have multiple
Hmm.
solutions thrown at you, because you never know which one is the one that's best for you. Right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah. And I always
um,
say too that if you have a mentor, don't just take what they say and run with it.
yeah.
Like literally think upon it, do some research, get some experience. You make up your own mind because that's going to make you have confidence in the future. Right? It's great to hear it from two or three people, maybe one, what they think you should do, but it really needs to be you that makes that final decision. And whatever gifts you have in your mind, it needs to be a decision that you make, and you'll feel really good about yourself after you've made the decision on your own with everybody's input. I think that's super important to remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, we thank all of our guests for
Yeah.
listening to us
Yeah.
today. And Kristen, It's awesome that you were on the show today and chatting about your wonderful, construction experience and everything you've done in it. I'm sure our audience will be thrilled to listen. Can you share with them ways that they can get in touch with you, or how to get in touch with your construction company as well?
Yeah, let's get people that are listening to do
Yeah.
business with
Sure.
Chesapeake Contracting.
A link will also be on our website.
Awesome. We are on LinkedIn. Me personally, Kristen Pressimone. Our company is. Our company's URL is ChesapeakeContracting.com. So, love to connect with anyone and, appreciate you guys having me on here. It's a good time.
Thank you so much.